Hey, everybody. Linda Bean, Outreach Coordinator from the Kelly Ann Dolan Memorial Fund. Thank you for joining us for Shining a Light today. For nearly 45 years, the Dolan Fund has been a financial safety net for families who are caring for a seriously ill, special needs, or injured child. And we cover expenses like utility bills, mortgage assistance, adaptive equipment, specialty camps, and therapies. But we can only support as many families as we have the financial resources for. So you can imagine how excited I get when I hear about another resource right in our backyard. At the Dolan Fund, we like to align with other nonprofits or organizations that can support our families. So I'm delighted today to welcome Nancy Dybert.
Hi, Linda.
Hey, Nancy, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
Good. Welcoming Nancy Dybert from the Jenkintown Foundation, the Jenkintown Day Nursery Foundation.
Right.
So welcome. Thank you for joining us. Before we can kind of get into the foundation, it was pretty neat to hear about the history behind what was the Jenkintown Day Nursery. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
I would love to. So the Jenkintown Day Nursery was formed in 1903 when Annie Culver, who was a Jenkintown resident, found some children in a barn while their mother was working as a domestic in the house. Now think about what times were like in 1903. This was just not daycare wasn't central to anyone's ideals, or they couldn't afford daycare. So Annie quickly got some of her friends from Grace Church, and they decided that they needed to start a daycare for these children who were sitting in barns all day or wherever. And there's a picture of one of the first classes. The kids came for about 5 cents a day, and they got food, and they got loving care, and this was the beginning. And we started on Thomas and Water Streets in Jenkintown, and then in the 1960s moved to the current location, which is Hilltop and Bader Road in Jenkintown.
Very neat. I couldn't believe when I read that story behind the scenes, half dozen kids huddled in a church, when their parents were doing the best that they could do to keep them safe while they could go out and earn money, which is an incredible backstory to the foundation. So out of the day nursery operated for many years, correct?
Sure, we celebrated our 100th anniversary in 2003 and with a big gala and festival. And it wasn't until 2015, well, I'll say probably 2012, 2013, we realized that as an all-volunteer board covering things like human resources and buildings and grounds and all those things, that our volunteers were getting a little strapped for time. Our board was not expanding at the rate that we wanted. And we realized that we needed to, as a single sole proprietorship, we needed to partner with someone to try to run the day-to-day operations of the nursery while we could do what we do best, which is handle the financial end and help the families with scholarships. So that's when we started doing some research in the community to find out who would align with our mission as far as that kind of a merger would be considered. So in 2015, we did merge with Play and Learn, and they basically purchased our building and took that off of our plate, and we took our endowment and formed the Jenkintown Day Nursery Foundation. And at the time when we were the Jenkintown Day Nursery Board, we had, oh my goodness, over 200 board members, some honorary, some active, and we decided that that was a little cumbersome for the foundation. So now we have a 9-member board, which is really easy to deal. We do a lot of things by email. Through the pandemic, of course, we've done things through Zoom. Of
course.
So that's an easy platform. Yeah.
That's great. Well, a tremendous resource. And I know there's a couple of areas that you cover. So perhaps first we could address the scholarships for daycare that the foundation provides. And really, let's get into how does that work? How does one apply? Who's eligible?
Well, families are eligible based on their income, and they provide us with their tax returns and their pay stubs. And then based on a sliding scale, the fees, the tuition assistance, the scholarships are figured out. So there are a lot of people who make very low wages, but they don't qualify for what the state is, the subsidy, the state subsidy,
Right.
because of the various job positions that the state doesn't actually agree, let's say, would be considered. So those families are the highest scholarships that we give, those families who can't qualify for CCIS or subsidy. And then it goes all the way up, and it's not only done by your income, but also by your family size. So if
Okay.
you have even a family with, like an income of $70,000, if they have 5 or 6 kids, they need help
Yeah.
more than anybody. So it's not only the income, but also the family size that determines the amount of your scholarship. And the website has a scholarship form on it.
Okay.
We're showing the website right now. And you can also apply through your daycare center. You can have your daycare center contact us. And typically the fees are paid directly to the center for the families.
Great. I'm wondering, when I think about many of our families who are caring for either special needs or a child with a chronic illness, would you consider a parent that's working part-time, where the other part of their day or week is focused, traveling to doctor's appointments or therapies for the child? Would that family be
Absolutely.
eligible?
Yes, I think the minimum requirement is 20 hours a week of work.
Okay.
So yes, they would absolutely be eligible.
Excellent. Well, and you make it pretty easy. The website is really scrolling at the bottom of our screen, and I checked out. The application is pretty simple to complete. Attach the tax return. You mentioned the board, and I know there's just a couple of people that really review those, and you're able to get an answer into the hands of a family pretty quickly.
Very quickly. That's
All right.
the beauty of the system, is that with a 9-member board, we can send everything around, and within a couple of days, usually we can make it.
That's awesome. Awesome. Um, you also have another fund, the Chaveaux Fund, if I'm pronouncing that
That is correct.
correctly.
Yes.
And I know we had some conversations about that, because that fund really aligns very closely to our mission. Tell me about the Chaveaux Fund and who you're looking to help, what kinds of families.
So in the 1970s, a Jenkintown resident by the name of Jean Chaveaux passed away, and she was very philanthropic. And in her will, she left a sizable amount of money to help families who were having financial difficulty due to medical issues. There was an attorney who administered the fund initially, and then he found us at Jenkintown Day Nursery and decided that we had families who probably would qualify. So we later became the administrators of the fund, and we have been since that time. So families whose children or parents or siblings or anyone who has a medical issue and they're having trouble making ends meet, we've paid medical bills, we've paid childcare costs, we've paid all sorts of different costs related to these the hardship. Again, they have to. It's not like they can just fill out the application. They have to prove some sort of a hardship, a financial
Mhm.
hardship. And again, that's reviewed by our board. And we do give these in what are considered like block grants, up to about $5,000, depending on the need. And we give those all, as our scholarships, we give the Chaveaux Fund scholarships, all grants all year round.
That's amazing. That's a significant amount of money. And I think about, many of the requests that we get for expenses, families are looking really to piecemeal the dollar amount to cover, things like adaptive equipment, where, moving into summertime and the world's opening back up. So alternative therapies and summer camps are, going to be running. And those are pricey. They're not often covered by medical insurance. So the adaptive equipment or a camp, would that be something that you'd consider?
Well, it's funny that you should mention that. We just recently gave a grant to Sebastian Riding Associates for kids for summer camp for, equine therapy. And we recently visited there just last week to take a visit. And oh my goodness, what a fabulous program. We're so excited to be able to partner with them and help those families afford to be able to have their kids have the therapy. So yes, that's absolutely something we would consider.
Yeah. That's amazing that they're a good friend to the fund as well, and just an amazing resource. I'm sure you got to hear all about really just the gains and strides that both children's and adults make with that type of therapeutic intervention that is expensive and is often not covered.
Yes, it's an amazing program, absolutely amazing. And just the smiles on the faces of the kids as they're riding around. We actually did see a couple of lessons while we were there, and
Oh, very
it just
cool.
warms your heart. It really does.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. I bet. Is the process just as easy to apply for the medical assistance? How does one do that?
The application for the Chaveaux Fund is also on the website. And again, you would just have to prove with a letter or a letter from a doctor or your own narrative letter what your hardship is and some form of income proof as we do for the scholarships. And then our board would review it and would make the appropriate action.
Okay, very good. You know what we didn't get into is really geographic region. At the Dolan Fund, we cover 3 states. Of course, our funding, it goes local as best as it can. Do you have a geographic region that you serve?
Really, the 5-county Philadelphia area is our geographic region. We're a virtual organization now. We don't have a base of operations. I mean, we have a PO box and we have an accountant who has our books, but we don't have a physical location. So we do just the 5-county region. Anything that we are presented with.
That 5-county region covers all the children's hospitals.
That's right.
So I can imagine once the word gets out in terms of social workers through CHOP or St. Chris or Shriners, as well as the local surrounding healthcare organizations, that's what we want to do. We want to help spread the word.
That's
You've
exactly.
got money to give out, and we know there are families in need. We always like to throw it back. Is there any way, we're doing this to help promote the resource and link families with the foundation, but is there any other way that someone in the community that's maybe listening would be able to support the Jenkintown Nursery Foundation?
Well, we do accept donations.
Okay.
We used to do a fundraiser called Annual Appeal, and we would send an appeal out to all of our donors, our donor database. And as our endowment grew, we realized that we wanted to be good fiduciaries. We wanted to spend the money as we're required to, and as we need to.
Mhm.
And so we decided that spending the money on the appeal was not as effective. And so we do get people who have been on our board in the past, and they will give donations every year because they've given to us. So yes, if anyone would like to give a donation to the Jenkintown Day Nursery Foundation, they can absolutely send it. The information is on the website.
You think about it, I know you have a pretty significant endowment, but additional donations will just help that to grow.
Absolutely.
And help more families. So
Well,
I
that's
really,
right. We would love to give away much more money than we do every year, but we just need those families to find us.
well, we're going to help you out with that. I know for sure.
That's exciting.
Good. So listen, thank you for spending a few minutes with us today. Just a wonderful resource right in our backyard, as I mentioned. We want to get families linked with the Jenkintown Day Nursery Foundation. They make it so simple. Their website has, flashed on the bottom of the screen. The application, very simplistic, and the documentation that needs to be attached is, pretty easy as well. So please help us spread the word about this wonderful resource to help families out with childcare and medical expenses. Nancy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I'm so happy, Linda. This is just great. I'm excited about the possibilities.
Yes, me too. Hey, everybody, please tune in next week, same time. We're delighted. It's our visit with Peggy Dolan, our founder and master storyteller next week. So please join us Thursday the 3rd at 11 o'clock. Make it a great day, everyone.